Hey everybody, so this is my inquiry-based learning project and I did mine on hurricanes in America, and the reason I did hurricanes is because we had a really big hurricane season this year with a lot of impacts in across the country, and I thought it would be relevant for students in fifth grade, which is what I want to teach. So I'm doing hurricanes in America, and this is the introduction page that you see here, and we have a National Geographic video from YouTube integrated on the right side of the page, which is an example of integrating technology into teaching. So students will begin by reading this. They're student storm chasers, and they'll watch the National Geographic video, which provides just some basic background information and should hopefully get students excited about the project that's ahead. And we have some of the key questions here, which are: what are hurricanes? Why do they happen? What impacts do they have? What are the differences between the different classes of hurricanes, and so on and so forth. And then we also have a link here where you can click on the link, which would take you to the Wikipedia page, which just gives some very basic background information about the hurricanes. So we have that integrated on the front page too. So this is just the introduction page, and important to note here that groups are going to be broken up into groups of about 4 or 5 students, and it's going to be category 1 through 5 hurricanes. So each group is going to be focusing on a different category of hurricane. And then they're going to present all of their findings at the end of the project, which I'll get into more a little bit later in this presentation. So if you go to the tasks page, which is the second page on the tab over here, you'll see that it talks about the students being broken up into different categories, category 1 through 5. And then there's 3 main tasks, which the first task is that students are going to research. And this is another way that technology can be integrated into the classroom, because students will conduct research online and also in class. And through the research, I have students using National Geographic online sources like Wikipedia, Discovery Kids. They also can look at the NOAA website and the National Hurricane Administration website. So there's a bunch of different sources that students can use, and they also can use some of those videos that I linked earlier in the presentation for their research. And for their research, they're going to answer the 3 key questions, which I had talked about earlier: what are hurricanes, why do they happen, and the impacts that they have. So then the second task is that students are going to write a research paper in their group, and it's just a 1-page research paper that discusses their findings from their research and synthesizes their learning, and it kind of answers the important questions. And what's important about the research paper is that students are going to be using technology to write the research paper as well. They'll do it online using either Google Docs or Microsoft Word. And the goal with the research paper is to synthesize their learning and then turn in a cohesive paper. And then the third thing is the PowerPoint. And the PowerPoint is, again, another example of integrating technology, because students will do this using the computers. And what I want is students to complete a PowerPoint presentation with their fellow group members. And it should just be a few-minute presentation, but I want students to focus on the big ideas from their learning. And the other important thing is that they share what is specific to their category of hurricane. For example, wind speeds, wave size, are there tornadoes, that type of thing. So each group member is going to present for about 5 minutes, or each group, I should say, will present for about 5 minutes with the PowerPoint. And that's another important part of the integration of technology into the classroom. And there's more details about each step in the process page, which we're going to go to next. And here in the process page, I just have everything broken down by day. So the first day, there's a lot of stuff written here, but students will break up into their assigned groups, and then they're going to begin researching using all of the different online and in-class resources. And then they will put their research together into some detailed notes, which they'll turn into me along with the paper and the PowerPoint. So that's what they do on the first day. They just kind of take some detailed notes and conduct their research. On the second day, which could be a couple days later or however the class schedule is conducted, students are going to write their research paper after they have finished conducting all of their research. And it's just a 1-page paper, so it shouldn't take too long to complete. Hopefully they can complete it in class. And they're going to use the class time to write their paper, working together as a group. And I have some of the requirements outlined here: 12-point font, Times New Roman, the names of all the students in the header, that type of stuff, kind of just basic information there. And all the sources need to be cited. So then going on to the third day, students will use that time to put together their PowerPoint presentation. And the PowerPoint's about 5 minutes long and should discuss all of the main takeaways, kind of like I discussed before, and just some of the things like having a unique background and relevant information underneath the headings. And again, the main idea here is to synthesize the learning. And then on the fourth day, the final day, all of the groups present their PowerPoints, which again, they'll be integrating technology by presenting. So that is the basic tasks set up. And I'm not going to read everything on here because I have quite a bit of information written up. But if you wanted to, you could look at all of this individually. And then here I have the information resources, which I kind of discussed earlier, but we have some of the National Geographic videos, the NOAA website, the National Hurricane Center, National Geographic Kids, which is a great science resource. And then there's also, like, you can use an online encyclopedia like Wikipedia, and we have NOAA, which provides information about each category of hurricane. So this is kind of just some good online resources, again, integrating the technology into the classroom, which is important. So then I have the evaluation page here, which is how students would be graded on the project. And then it's broken up into participation, which is that each student contributes to the group. And then there's the research section with students turning in their research paper. And then the PowerPoint, which we kind of discussed earlier, but we have it all broken down here with the point scale. And then the research paper that will also get graded individually. So it's 25 points per category for a total of 100 points. And this is a sliding scale here. So you can have some grades in between this, but this is just a basic outline of what it should look like for a 100% paper in the left column, and then different grade levels from there on. And then in the conclusion section, it just kind of discussed what everybody learned, sort of recaps everything that was learned. And it's through the use of online and in-class resources, students are able to successfully research hurricanes and answer several key questions. And this relates to the 5th grade natural science standards related to weather and natural disasters. So this is related to the Colorado State standards, and it also relates to some of the NTES standards. So that's kind of cool in that regard too, that you can really, you could use this in an actual classroom if you wanted to. And what I say to share the learning outside of the class, I'll post all the papers and the PowerPoints on the website, the teacher website that I have. And that would kind of allow parents and students to see each other's work and kind of share the learning outside of the classroom, which is important to consider. And then finally, I have the notes to teacher here, which I'm not going to go through all of this because I have quite a bit of it in here. But it just talks about, like, it's science and earth natural sciences. I titled it A Hurricane of Knowledge. And it's about a 4-day presentation. And then it talks about some of the integration, like the National Geographic videos, the research that's conducted online, and then the PowerPoint, which is created using the computer as well in the classroom. So that's kind of all important to consider. And then it relates to the ISTE standards on communication and collaboration because it is a group project. Students are going to communicate and collaborate together on it. And they could also use collaborative resources to work on the project. For example, they could use Google Docs to collaborate outside of class to work on the project. So that's kind of important to remember too. And it specifically relates to Standard D, which is contribute to project teams to produce original works or solve problems. And ideally, each PowerPoint will be an original work. So that's kind of important there. And that's just sort of, we have the sources down here at the bottom, all of the different sources that get used. And I think you could adapt this project to higher or lower level grades. If you wanted to use it for lower level grades, you just have a little bit less work for students. Maybe you don't have the paper, maybe just some research and then a presentation about it. And if you wanted to do a higher level grades, you could do things like math problems, like, for example, calculating wind speed or calculating damage or wave size. So there's all sorts of ways you could adapt this to different level classrooms. So that's kind of cool as well, because I think this could be used in many different grade levels. So that's about it. So just the goal of this is that students learned a lot about natural disasters, specifically hurricanes, and hopefully it would be a fun and interesting project for students. All right, thank you.